So she doesn't want to get missed. She wants to be bred.
That's a good situation for the bucks.
It's a great situation. That's why those 1 and 2 year olds are just like,
well, I guess I'm going here with somebody. So who's it going to be?
There's a spike over there. Like,
yeah.
It's like, ah.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, hard to believe, but Deer Grow has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to the HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at deergrow.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're in it now.
Yeah, we're in it now. And we're back. HUNTR Podcast.
Here we go.
Episode 283. Yes, we're in it now.
Here we go.
Here we go. It is it's October 18th.
What do you do with my? Here we go.
October 18th.
I'm drinking the wrong bottle here.
Yeah. Sorry, we're coming off of, we did a Hunt Companion this morning. Then we're like, let's just film one for
Recalibrating.
Recalibrating.
Hey. Before we get going here, I will thank you guys for being here. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast, those are the three main platforms that we drop these episodes on. And we do that every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Mm-hmm. If you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the two that we check the most frequently. We have some merch on the website, and a lot of you guys have been grabbing that stuff recently. That's fun for us to see. It's like,
I need to grab
my dad loves your
stuff.
stuff. People like your stuff, so.
I gotta grab
you need
some
stuff?
Yeah, I need to get like our new flag hoodie for sure. And
Yeah.
I like your
I got
Antler
a
Evolution
promo code
one.
for you. Yeah, dude, that's a nice tee.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can check that out, and you can also use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on any of our partners' websites for a discount in some way, shape, or form. Jeremy and I just re-upped on some new Vantage from Predator. So,
yeah, we got, yep. So you're getting Brown Deception. I'm getting Fall Brown.
No. You're getting, yes. Sorry.
Don't do it.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Do it.
You're smart. I'm dumb.
So yeah, we got some of the new and the was it the Thermogrid hoodie and
the pants. Yeah, that's the base layer stuff.
Yeah, the base layer stuff. So pretty stoked. It's that time. Like I just want to starting to get out of the green and into the brown.
That's right.
Yep. So
shift is happening. That may happen. Well, we won't have it, but I have my old stuff. So
I will say though, if you're like, I'm not real sure, like I need new stuff, but we're kind of halfway through. They are running some like insane sales on the old stuff. So like
can they use our promo code on top of that?
They can use our promo on top of it.
So our promo will get you 20% off anything in the store plus any discounted items.
Yeah, so there's some really good deals on some of the last year model type stuff. If you're looking to just like get you something to get you through the rest of the season.
Cool. We'll try to give an opinion too if you guys aren't sure what to get. I mean, the rough breakdown is what are the systems called? I mean, we're past the early season stuff.
Yeah, so Alpine would be the earlier
That's
season.
your lightweight stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you could still wear that from a layering. Like even today, it's gonna be 77 degrees out. You're not wearing Vantage. You're gonna wear Alpine. Vantage is kind of your all season type
mid-season
gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So whether you're just wearing light stuff under it or you're starting to layer heavier under it. That's going to get you through November, probably even the first part of December.
Most of the season.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Ambush 2.0 is your late season
Super
gear.
cool stuff.
Yep. That's your heavy Primaloft and everything like that. So
and those bibs, like for me, I like to go heavier on the legs so I can be
lighter up top,
less layers up top. So those bibs, I'll pull those out like towards the end of November.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving time frame, those bibs are critical.
Also, I think that ambush jacket is really nice though.
It's heavy. It's heavy. It's serious. It'll keep
it's comparable. Like if you need like a Sitka Fanatic jacket, like that ambush Toy Plus 2.0 is that's the comparable to it and a third of the price. So anyways, some really good deals there. Use the HUNTR code to get you some of that stuff. I think all of it works. Whether it's Brown Deception or the new Fall Brown for the mid-season, either one of those is awesome. I like that fall gray as we got into the late season, but you don't have to get
dealer's choice. I mean, they all have the breakup pattern. I just kind of started with Brown Deception years ago, and so I'm not a fan of mismatching anything, even in the same line.
I got into a few debates here after Steve's podcast on the Sitka stuff. I don't remember beating them up that bad, but apparently people thought we did from the Optifade pattern.
Oh,
and so here's my take.
What was the?
Well, so here's my take is that a lot of the people were talking about the research that's been done on Optifade and stuff. And I have immense respect for Carl Miller from Georgia. Like, Carl is a mentor of mine, like, unbelievable dude. And so I think from a research and vision standpoint, like, they've done the best stuff.
That's who did the research?
A part of it. I don't know. The other side is like Gore funded it. Like, so what are you going to say? That it doesn't work at the same time?
That's the thing about science is money will make it say whatever it needs to say.
Yeah, and so here's my basic summary on Optifade is a couple things. Number one, Sitka.
Follow the science.
Sitka from the get-go is a Western-based company. That Optifade pattern was not built for tree stand hunters. It was built for ground hunters out west, primarily past the opening part of the season, right? As things change.
We don't necessarily know that, right?
Well, that's how it came out. Sitka was never a whitetail.
Oh, it definitely was. At a certain point, they marketed it towards whitetail hunters.
They did, but they didn't change the pattern.
We don't know that. We don't know. You can think that.
I'm pretty confident. I've seen the entire evolution of that company.
Okay.
And so, like, Optifade was a Western. Sitka was a Western company, and then they're like, oh yeah, we need to capture the whitetail market, and so they morphed that pattern into new apparel lines, like the Fanatic series. Like, nobody out west is wearing.
But didn't develop any new patterns.
Correct. They did later. They did like the early season stuff, right? That's the like brown and green. I forget what that is.
Okay.
I don't know what that one was called.
Subalpine or something.
Subalpine. There you go. For like the early season. But so the mindset around that digitized pattern was based off of ground hunting, in my opinion. And so.
Well, most are.
Most are. So I'm, that if there's a criticism, I'm not saying that it doesn't help break you up or anything like that. I'm just saying that pattern was not made from a tree stand hunting standpoint. Predator was. That open pattern technology was to mimic the skyline in the tree, right? And the white space, essentially, or blue space, whatever you want to call it, in the tree. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not beating up on the pattern from a standpoint of like it doesn't work. I do have if there's a beef, the beef is that is a gray-based pattern, which is blues, which is on the UV spectrum.
Yeah.
And personally, and I don't know about you, personally, I know that I've gotten pinged multiple times wearing Sitka in a tree stand.
Oh, I was the one that said it on that podcast. I was like, I noticed when I shifted, because I think it was, I don't know if we were wearing Predator right before that, but I distinctly remember when we shifted to Sitka, I immediately started getting seen more.
I was like, this is weird. The one I remember is the first buck we killed on our Illinois farm. That deer came out at 50 yards and like looked across the creek and looked right at me. Like not through me, like right at me. And even before I shot him, he knew exactly where I was. And I mean, I thought I had really good cover around me.
Well, the point that we switched back. So this was well before we had a relationship with Predator. The only reason we had the Sitka in the first place was because Whitetail Properties gave us a 40% discount. And after a year or two of that, we're like, this isn't working.
It's great apparel.
We killed some deer. It was great apparel.
The apparel quality, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievably. I mean, that Fanatic, when you talk about late season and staying warm, crazy good. But the pattern was not what we had success with from a tree stand hunter.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also think from a saddle hunter. Like, I know we brought that up about.
Oh, regardless, just if you're in a tree,
Yep. And so if you're still mad about that, sorry, but like
people are upset about that, huh? Yeah,
they were. And I'm those in, like, I do like some of the memes around like the Sitka boys and stuff. Like they were doing like they had the like Pedro call thing that he tagged us in the other day. They're like, oh, Sitka boys out goose hunting. Like I like that. That's funny. But Yeah, I mean, it's great apparel. I'm just saying from a tree stand and a whitetail standpoint, I think it's flawed.
Not the best. Yeah.
I think it's flawed. So that's it. Take it for what's worth.
Fair.
Go kill them in Sitka. Fair. I've killed them in Sitka before too. Yeah, that predator, and there's other patterns. Like I'm sure I've never worn Osseo, but I've heard great things about that. Like, so I mean, there's other good things out there too. But that predator pattern has consistently produced for us, and I do feel like even if they see or think they see you in the tree, they're looking through you versus at you, which is a huge difference. So, anyways, I'll just lay that out there for people to chew on.
Fair enough.
And they're gone.
Fair enough. And it's just Jeremy and I.
It's just us. It's just us. Yeah, we figured it's that time of year. We kind of need to stack some on the shelf here because if a cold front comes through, we're going to go hunt, just like you guys probably will. We do plan on several lives coming up here in the near future, so we'll let you guys know when that's going to be. First one will probably be Illinois, I would assume, here in the not too distant future. So we'll get you hooked up on that.
Are we going to be there over a Thursday? Did that work out?
Potentially. If we go, the 30th is the Thursday of October.
Okay.
So I assume we'll be there. Like I said, I think that's the day the weather breaks. So
Okay.
I think that we'll probably be there the day before.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
All right.
Yep.
Hopefully we get some
or Tuesday it could be. Thursday or Tuesday.
Before then. That'd be cool.
I know. I was kind of thinking about that. Like, as you were saying that earlier, I'm like, okay, well, we've got Kamikaze and we've got that.
I haven't seen him in a week.
Bill has.
He has?
Yep. Okay. He sends me pictures a lot.
Cool.
So that's where he's at. We've got that 10, the 6-year-old 10 point.
6-year-old 10 point?
Yeah.
Which one's that?
The one who was a 9 last year.
Oh, yeah. I guess he is a 10 now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
We need a name for him.
It's like Tank or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just a big-bodied. He's just a bull.
Yeah. He's not a giant-bodied deer, I don't think.
Oh, I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. I think he'll score better than you think, too. I bet he's mid-40s.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see, but okay, yes, you're right. Yeah, he is a shooter. He also... it's just across the board, man. The cameras just haven't been doing a lot for us in the last 2 weeks, That 4-year-old's a slammer, though.
The one we got last night?
Yeah. Well, the wide one.
Oh, the wide one.
The wide one.
That one last night too. That deer's got 12 plus inch twos.
Yeah, he's a nice deer.
Yep.
I bet that deer's low 40s as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one will look a lot like Kamikaze next year probably as a 5-year-old.
Yeah, he's a nice deer.
So yeah, we have 2 shooters that we know about right now.
That's true.
Yeah, and
love for that 11 to show up.
I know. Yeah.
Love for the 11 to show up. Love for that 8 to show up. I'd love for. There's, you know what? There's that 4-year-old 10 point last year. Remember the first time he showed was when I was in the blind. That was around that time.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good deer. I saw him in person out of Pinch a Pinch come across that field. Yeah, so there's several deer that still haven't shown up. But yeah, we've got 2 right now that we would go after, and I mean that's the play. Like we're planning on going to Illinois in the next couple weeks, but I mean if nothing shows, then we probably won't. Yeah.
I mean, there's enough there to go after, I would say, and those deer will be there. That's the front to. Well, I guess we don't know. We're just looking at dates, not weather yet.
Yeah, right now
you were looking out, and
it looks rainy. We're going to break that cycle.
I don't love,
Yeah. So,
what do you think of so now this is kind of behind us here. We got through that 10-day of the dark side of the moon thing. It's not an isolated variable, so it's like it's just observation.
Yeah.
But it sure seemed like, boy, we did that. So I don't know if that carries over into November, which would say basically that the 6th or something like that is a full moon, and so the preceding 10 days will be slow movement. I don't know if that carries over to that or not.
I'm just not a moon guy at all. I just think they do.
I haven't been historically. I've just I don't. I mean,
I think there's just a lot of. I mean, that also timed with we had a really nice cold front that came through there. I mean, I still have deer, 4-year-olds moving pretty frequently.
Guys have killed them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're dropping them They're dropping them for sure. And yeah, I mean, at this point, you're building up to a big low pressure system here, which is going to suppress movement for sure.
That first week in November?
Well, right now, even like where we're sitting.
Oh, well, just for today, tomorrow.
Today, tomorrow. And then even that, I'm really confident with next week, but it also could be one of those weeks where that low hangs longer than we want.
I think so.
And it might be towards the end of the week that it finally clears out. It'll get good next week. It's just, will it be on Monday, Tuesday, or will it be on Thursday, Friday? I don't know. Because that's what happened the last time. It's like, man, it seemed like this was the day, but that front just stuck like an extra 12 hours or so.
Yeah. Where are you checking pressure?
On Weather Underground, primarily.
Can you show me where? I don't.
Yep.
I was looking for that the other day, and I ended up switching and looking at some of that DeerCast stuff. That's kind of cool how they have theirs laid out.
Yeah. So there's your right here, rising pressure.
Oh, okay. So you have to go into the daily.
No. So here's the top part here.
Yeah. Okay. You get a more. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So pressure rising.
Yeah. So even today, I mean, it's gonna be hot, but in theory, I bet there was decent deer movement this morning, even.
But you can't look out and see that in the future.
Not on this one, I don't think.
I think you can on the desktop. I think you can on DeerCast too. Because didn't it used to be here? You'd be able to look out and see a charted pressure.
I don't know.
And it's not there anymore. That's
not down underneath
temperature, precip, humidity, and then sunrise, sunset.
Yeah, you're right. It did used to have it there. You're right. Yeah. Actually, that was London Mills, so not here from a pressure rising standpoint. So yeah, I mean, that's where I typically am seeing at least what the pressure's doing today. Like today, pressure steady, just under 30 at home. So yeah, I mean, I'm weather-based system. And
you're right though. You're right though. It is gonna like later in the week. Yeah, of course we'll be podcasting on Thursday. It looks awesome. Go back for Friday. Saturday looks like rain again. Then it looks like it warms up a little bit,
and then it gets rainy.
I can't see out that far. I just have 10 days on mine.
Gotcha. Yeah, I pay for the.
There's gonna be rain in here and there, but
yeah. So I mean, if I'm looking at it from a snapshot, I don't know when this is airing. This is probably airing after next week. So we probably just came through a week where, in Pennsylvania at least, it's one of my favorite weeks to be on a pattern, mature buck to a scrape after a weather front. And it doesn't have to be like immediately after. It could be 2 days after the weather front. But like he is anticipating the first doe to come into estrus between the 23rd and the 28th. And so he's checking scrapes hard because she's probably popped on one and he knows.
I think if there's one you feel confident about, I think you sit it. You just
scrape-wise?
Sit it morning and evening.
No doubt.
If you have access and you can hunt it safely, I think you sit there until he does it.
He's going to do it. And he may, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but he may just scent check it. He may not actually come and crush it because he doesn't need to feel that, he doesn't need to go in there and communicate necessarily. He may just be scent checking a lot of these, but he will come through that area to make sure that that's going to happen. So you just have to anticipate that from like a wind and from a setup standpoint. Like don't be 10 yards over top of the scrape necessarily. Give yourself a little room so that he could potentially swing downwind of that scrape and still you're downwind of him.
Or put your scrapes in areas where they can't do that.
Yeah, if you have the capability of making mock scrapes and moving them around, at this point...
Who doesn't have the ability to make mock scrapes?
Well, I just worry at this point it's getting too late. Like there's some established scrapes already.
I don't think it's ever too late.
I just think that they're doing the scrape thing already. So you can, I'm not saying that he won't hit it or won't do it but like...
They won't know about it. It may take them some time to kind of figure it. But if it's in an area where they're scraping or moving through already, he'll check it out.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's kind of the strategy. Now, the problem is that any day, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th of October, that first doe is going into estrus. And it'll get rowdy maybe for half a day or a day, but that hierarchy's already set out. they already know who's breeding that doe in most cases if you've got a mature age structure. Like, I think that there's a dominant buck who's like, yep, as soon as she goes in estrus, I'm locking her down.
Yeah.
So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you are getting your buck on a target, you know, scrape or pattern, that he goes dormant because he may go on lockdown first. And that's discouraging for a lot of people because they look at that like Halloween time frame and they're like, man, it's going to get good. But he's already breeding the first doe.
Yeah.
So you just have to be patient if you're hunting a particular deer. If you're just hunting deer in an area, like multiple deer, multiple 4-year-olds or whatever you're trying to kill, different ball game. But if you're after a particular deer, odds are he's a top dog and he's probably going to lock down in the late part of October for 2-3 days at least. So you just have to be patient and understand that that's going to happen and not freak out or not shoot the next buck in line just because you're like, oh, he's dead or he left or whatever. Because probably around the 1st or 2nd of November, he's going to be back on his feet cruising for the next one.
Yeah, they're just so efficient at getting them.
Well, especially because most of us are hunting in an area where the doe to buck ratio is extremely skewed, right? There's 2 or 3 does for every buck. And so if you think about just the law of opportunity that comes into play, like the time he finishes that first doe, we're inching closer into the bell curve of like when most of the does are coming in. So there's just more opportunity for him to breed. So like he just doesn't have to work from the end of October till probably almost mid-November. Like if you're in a place that has 2 or 3 does per buck, like he just doesn't have to work that hard to find the next doe when he gets off. I'm not saying you can't catch him. Like he still has to move from A to B to find her, but it's probably short-lived cruising before he finds his next doe, especially if he's the dominant buck. And so that's why we talk about that 3rd week of November and even at Thanksgiving as being a little bit better because he's got to work so much harder because there's so few more does coming into estrus at that time. Especially if we're talking about Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Indiana, all of those. Kansas, you're skewed a little bit. Obviously, as you go south, you're skewed a little bit. But, you know, for most of the upper Midwest and Northeast, like by the time you hit that week before Thanksgiving, there's still does coming in the estrus. They're just so few that he has to be legging it more to find them.
What do you think our ratio is in Illinois? Like specifically where we're at?
I bet it's like a 2.5 to 1.
Think so?
Yep. That would be my guess. It doesn't seem like it sometimes because you see so many like, you know, even 1, 2, and 3-year-old bucks.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't seem like it sometimes.
I do think it is. I just think
it just seems like there's not a lot of deer, period.
I think they're there. I think they're just kind of broken up into those, you know, doe group pockets essentially. And there's 5 here and 6 here and 10 here and 4 here and 2 over here. Like they're just broken into pockets and stuff. But yeah, I would assume that you're probably in that 2 to 2.5 to 1 time frame. So like in those cases, you're in a much better position, especially as you get to, we talk around like the 7th to 10th of November, that they are working a little bit harder to find those. Cause I do think that bell curve we're starting to come down at that point, meaning we've hit the peak of does and estrus and we're coming down the backside at that point. Still up at the top, you know, for the next week or two. But
yeah, the beginning is really hard. Like the pre-rut stuff is more challenging, I feel, to catch a mature buck doing things in daylight than the latter half of November.
Yeah, he's
because at that point, like the door's open, like the can of worms is, they've been doing the thing, and now they're just going to continue doing it. And now, but the number of does is declining.
Yep.
And so they're just up covering ground.
Have to.
Whereas like now and leading up to it, it's just like they are so efficient at finding the first one. You just almost have to be. The scrapes are kind of your best bet, I think, and that's almost
I do think that there's
any of that.
I do think that there is especially when you've got a dominant buck who's home ranged in an area that's got doe groups around. Like I think that is almost a predetermined marriage, basically. Like, he just knows when she goes into estrus, he's there. In fact, he may even start tailing her a day or so before, right? Just anticipating that it's going to happen.
So, like, I'm curious what happens, like, in Ohio, we shot that GR8 deer, and, like, now all of a sudden this flyer deer seems dominant. And
which makes sense.
Seems like he's
a 5-year-old.
Hitting more scrapes. And I'm like, would that have happened anyways? Would they both just be doing the same thing, the same
I don't think so.
They did last year. They were both, like, essentially in the same area.
I think they could overlap, but I bet that they still have pieces of that core that are different.
Yeah, but that's true. And GR8 was more like towards that east twin, and flyer may have been more towards that clear cut.
Yeah, and you're talking at a 4 and 5-year-old age class last year.
Both 4-year-olds last year.
Or both.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
4 and 5s.
GR8 would have been 5, and flyer was 4 last year.
Yep. So yeah, I think you have some of that overlap. You're going to have those overlapped core areas in a lot of these cases. The dominant buck wins those core areas. I mean, sometimes the hierarchy hasn't been shaken out. Like, if you got 2 5-year-olds in that area, and just so happens they come to a doe at the same time, like the battle will ensue. Like, that's where you get these knockdown, drag out fights. But I think a lot of it is predetermined. On that first doe or so. There's been a few cases, though, I have seen, like, especially here on the mountain, like, I usually don't have a 4 or 5-year-old, like, frequenting my property a lot at this time of year. But right when we get to the 25th, 6th, 7th of October, he'll be in there a lot more. And typically when that first doe, for a long time, I had a doe that 27th or 28th. She was always coming in estrus, and he was running hard, but so were other bucks in that area. And I think it's because they just sucked in on the first doe in estrus, and he hadn't dominated that spot enough to, like, set the tone of, like, hey, she's mine.
Yeah.
But I think that's topography based, and also just because, like, I have fragmented landscapes up there too. Whereas if you've got more uniform property, like, let's say even like yours, like, those deer have come across enough, and even the checking of the scrapes that's happening now, like, they probably know that unless flyer and GR8 come together at the same time around that first doe in estrus, if he picks her up by, this spot, or this one picks it up by the clear cut, like, it's predetermined. He's not going to cross the whole way over to try to get to her, probably because he knows that one's about to fall into his territory.
Well, and also there's only 1 or 2, so it's like while those matures are locked down with those, I think the rest of the bucks feel free to frolic and run does around and do whatever they're
And they do. That's when I think, like, visibility on, like, your 2 and 3-year-olds especially is super high. That few days up through even Halloween to the 1st or 2nd of November. It's like that's the cruising phase, right? If we were breaking them into phases, that cruising phase to the early part of November, 4th, even 5th of November, is because, like, there are mature bucks locked down with does, and then the next level down is, like, on a mission because they're like, okay, they're locked down. If I can find one, she's mine.
Well, it's interesting, like, right now, the bucks have identified through whatever process, it's like we're seeing these does, especially on the green sources.
Yes.
And so the bucks are just going there. Like, they just say, hey, these does are hanging tight to these green food sources. We're just going to go there and see what's up.
Just scent check. Yeah.
Or I just go, do whatever.
Yeah.
Run them around, check them out, just be there for a bit, and then they'll move on to whatever they're doing.
Yeah. They're just starting to cross paths with them more. I mean, if you think about that, it's like, besides the summertime when they're all pouring out to a bean field, right? The last 2 months, these deer really, like, the bucks are just doing buck things and the does are doing doe things. And now all of a sudden you see this pot start to mix. Like, they start to just swoop through each other's areas and territories because it's anticipation of, like, at some point you're going to come through and be like, whoa, wait a minute. She's about ready. And then that changes the behavior in the game. Like, he probably stops doing the thing and starts just hovering her until the time's ready. And that's why, like, for most of these early pair ups, like, you don't see a chase. Like, you don't see the November chase. They just happen. They just get together, and next they're locked down.
Yep.
And I think it's just a predetermined thing, whether that's, I think we've talked about it before with Strickland and a couple guys, but it's like, I don't know what that is. Is that just pure dominance? Is it antler size? Is it, behavior and physical attributes? Like why she picks him, or is it just like a nature default that he's the dominant one, and when she falls into estrus, like that's who she feels the need to breed with?
They just know, you know what I mean? We talk about them just as like deer and mature and age class and stuff, but they are like, they know each other intimately.
Absolutely.
I think
they absolutely do.
They probably know like every single deer.
Yeah.
For the most part,
it's
right. Like when they walk out in the field, we see, oh, there's 6 does in the field. They see like, I know all of you.
Yeah, Betty, Bertha, Bernice. Yeah, we get it all.
The Hunter Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked
carbon,
out as always.
Blacked out. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. We just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
There's definitely there's a relationship. This is the social side that like we just don't understand.
You know how we do that too. It's like we might see 5 women over there, and it's like her and I have that. We know what happened last summer.
Yeah. I know what you did last summer.
And that summer's coming around again.
Yeah, and I think that's probably how it works. Like I would assume that there is a lot of like annual breeding between the same buck and doe.
Yeah, I bet there is too.
Unless obviously she gets killed, he gets killed, whatever. Like
have they done? I know they have done studies. Can you speak to this? How many? What percentage of the does get bred by a mature age class versus a younger age class of bucks?
Yeah, I mean it depends on the age structure that they're put in, right? Like there is still a very high frequency, and again, this is where if there's 2 to 3 does per buck, right? Let's talk about that. There's still a very high frequency of does that are getting bred by 1 and 2 year old bucks. And it's because, a mature buck can only breed so many does at a time, right? Think about it like an elk harem. When a bull elk is mastering an elk harem, there may be multiple cows within that harem in estrus at the same time, and he just goes to each of them. Like he hits one, recovers, smokes a cig, hits the next, right? Like that's the whole point of a harem, and therefore like most of the breeding is done by a single bull. Whereas with Whitetail, he pairs with her for up to 96 hours. And because of how this bell curve is so sharp during the time period, there will be other does that come into estrus at that time. Well, he's not leaving the doe he's locked with. Right. Which leaves the gate open for others.
He's not locking down with more than one doe at a time either, right? Ever?
No. It's just not the behavior of them.
You do see later in November. It's a monogamy
type of thing.
You do see later in November, though. I've seen like a mature buck bedded with like 4 does.
And it could be the possibility of social dynamic of just like,
he's with the one, but...
Yep, getting back. And then the doe herds are starting... I mean, the herding aspect mentality starts to come back later on. Also could be that he's trying to take advantage of a doe fawn at that point. And that doe fawn is not leaving mom. Right? So there at some point, that separation will happen. But
the age difference is interesting to me. Like, it's kind of comical if you think about it. It's like... I would say in most places, the age structure of does is probably like 50% higher than the age class of bucks.
Oh, absolutely is.
And so...
Yeah, because we don't kill does.
You probably most commonly have like 2 and 3 year old bucks breeding 5 and 6 year old does.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's where
like guys we don't shoot as many does, and we don't know how old they are. We're just like, I don't know. That's a big one.
There's a lot of theories, and most of it's from the captive herd around the antler characteristics and genetics coming from the doe, or a larger portion coming from the does. I don't know how that works in the wild. Frankly, I don't know if they've done enough research to know how that happens in the wild. But there definitely are instinctive genes that are passed from a 5 or 6 year old doe to an offspring, right? So talk about like a 2-year-old buck breeding a 6-year-old doe. Well, that doe is going to give birth to a button buck who's then going to be educated by a 6-year-old doe on like what to do. Mm-hmm. That's a monster advantage versus a 6-year-old buck breeding a 1-year-old doe who then is raising a button buck as a 2-year-old doe, right? She's just not as experienced. She doesn't have the knowledge base. She doesn't have the depth as much.
Do you think there's more of a family dynamic that takes over in that sense? Like, because does are a part of a herd, so they're often with at least 2 mature does.
To a point. I think especially when you're talking about like daughters of does, so like a 6-year-old doe with a 2-year-old doe and both of their fawns in that group.
Which you see a lot, right?
You see
a group of like 5 or 6.
Yeah, because that 2-year-old doe's still learning at the same time, learning from her 6-year-old mom, right? Like that's the way it is. It's funny, but like, Pedro was the one who was on. Who was like, yeah, we kill the fawns. Like we don't kill the. He's like, why would we kill the adults? They're healthy going into the winter. They're the ones that we know can breed again. He's like, if we need to get mouths off the ground, if it's simply a population measure, we take the fawns off because odds are they're going to come out of winter in worse condition. And they also haven't proven anything. They haven't proven that they are going to be a better buck than others. They haven't proven that they even can reproduce. He's like, so yeah, we take them off the ground. It makes sense in theory from a population standpoint. But yeah, I think that when you start to look at like and I don't know, like even in those settings, like let's take the 6-year-old doe getting bred by a 2-year-old buck, like she knows more than he does, and so there for sure is a basically a permission type of thing there of like,
sure,
yeah, I'm ready, sure,
yeah.
And is that because that's the age structure in the area? Is that because that's the available suitor at the time? She does not want to be missed in estrus. Let's make that clear.
Does she care, do you think? Does she want to be bred by a more dominant buck?
I think that is natural selection. I think there is a absolute desire from the doe to be picked by the best suitor. From a sustainability of her offspring being the strongest possible.
Yeah, but you also think they're not willing to not be bred.
No,
so if the dominant buck is with a more a hierarchical doe, however you would say that, then she'll be bred by a lesser suitor.
Yeah, because it's risky.
She'll
if she misses estrus, it will cycle 28 days later, which means she's going to be bred later into the winter, which she's already struggling on her body, right? It's more taxing. And then even more so, she's going to have her fawn 28 days later in a less optimal time period to raise them.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want to get missed. She wants to be bred.
That's a good situation for the bucks.
It's a great situation. That's why those 1 and 2 year olds are just like they're dragging dick around.
She's like, well, I guess I'm going here with somebody. So who's it gonna be?
There's a spike over there, like,
yeah.
It's like, damn it. Yeah, so I mean that's the pattern that you see. But I think the last report I saw was, I think it was 20% of twins being born were from different bucks.
20%.
So if you're thinking about that, it's because
that's lower than I thought.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was I think that was wild. That wasn't captivity. Captivity would be higher, but if you think about that, the biggest part around that breeding cycle especially is that, in that 72 to 96 hour time period, that buck isn't breeding the doe one time. Like there's multiple breeding incidences. Like, I don't know, is it 4? Is it 10? I have no idea. As many as he can probably do and as many as she's willing would be my guess. But in places where it's a tighter buck to doe ratio, those are the areas then where you've got satellite bucks, right? Because they've already worked around and are like, there is no other girls. Like they're not coming into estrus right now. So they're waiting for an opportunity at that buck who's locked down with that doe. Well, eventually he gets pissy and he starts running them off, right?
Yeah.
When he runs them off, somebody sneaks in and breeds her.
Do you think they can tell when they've had a successful breeding? Like, do you think they stay there until they're like, okay, that one took?
No, I think it's probably purely estrus driven. I think at some point her hormone level falls off.
Does that happen when they're successfully bred?
I would assume so. That would be my guess, that there's some sort of chemical release there that happens. It says
probably because he's not going to leave her until he knows it's good.
No, and she, and he'll stay there until she says, no more. Yeah. So I would assume there's a chemical release when there's a successful fertilization.
Interesting.
Right? And then at that point, her hormone levels fall. Because then
other bucks don't want them anymore. Like they go and pee, right?
Yep.
And they can tell, like, she's already been bred.
Yeah, she's already bred. She's not going to I'm wasting my time and energy.
Interesting. So there's got to be something there.
Yeah, so I assume with that successful fertilization, there's a drop in some sort of pheromone release.
Yeah.
That says, yep.
Super cool.
I'm done. Right?
That has to happen. We just figured out biology via common sense.
There you go. And then, they part ways. First of all, there's your vulnerability of that mature buck. Because now he's got to get on his feet. That's where it could be 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a 70-degree day, and he's like, he ain't laying down.
Weather is indifferent to him at that point.
Who's next?
Yeah.
He stands up and he goes, and that's where you're Kansas, like you're sitting in the stand, you look up, here he comes. It's like he got off of one and he's on a mission for the next one.
Yeah.
And so that will continue to happen until you get to that later part of November, which
does speak to spots too, about like hunting that time of year. It's like, think about, they're just going to take the quickest, most direct route to the next block of does.
Well, and that's where like when we talk about that November period, like even from the 5th to the 15th or 20th, like I love hunting close to doe bedding. Mm-hmm. Just because even if those does get up and mill around and they leave and they come back, like I know that a buck is going to be scent checking that doe bedding. Mm-hmm. He's going to come downwind. He's going to scent check that. Probably that's where you'll see the same damn buck 4 times because he's just making big loops. Like, yep, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. Wait, there's something in there. Yep. And then bust them up.
I think funnels can make sense there too. That's that spot in Kansas that I was hunting there. And like just areas that they have to come through. Ditches.
Yep.
Field line edges, just however they're going to get there fastest.
Rut becomes very much a spot game. Like, not saying that the spot doesn't matter here at this latter part of October and stuff, but you can bounce around, you can be strategic, you can get aggressive, you can be, on these prime weather days, you can be super conservative and just sit on a food plot. And the odds are, like, he's probably gotten up early and he'll get there before dark. When it comes to the rut side of things, like, sure, he eventually might come out in that food plot and check the does, but that's not, you want to be in the timber, you want to be in these funnels, you want to be in these areas next to doe bedding. You need to be in these spots where those deer just feel the necessity of being pulled to throughout the entire day. That's the difference between sitting all day in the rut and not having any action and sitting all day in the rut and like constantly seeing deer all day. It's purely spot chosen basis. Whether to a point, like if it's 75, like they don't want to, but those bucks will. And honestly, the more that the does are on the feet, the more that the bucks will be on their feet just trying to parallel them and just continue to figure out, if there's a willing participant in the group. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that becomes the hardest part of, frankly, I think it's one of the hardest parts for most bow hunters is the transition between what we're going through now, which is all of the scouting, all the camera data, all the scrape monitoring, everything that you have right now is so valuable. Throw that shit all out the window come the first week in November into the second week in November. And you could go to a spot that you've never run a camera before, you've never sat before, but topography-wise, they just have to come through, and it'll be one of your most successful spots you'll ever sit for that time period. Yep. If you sat that right now, maybe you catch something coming through there, but it's a completely different mindset of movement. Right now, it is still bed food. Yeah. It will modify a little bit to bed food, scrape, check does, and then eventually it'll be like does, like no bedding, just on my feet.
I think there's great rut spots that you don't see any deer at the entire month of October.
I would agree.
It's just like I've got cameras in spots and it's funny, I put them out like in the summer and I haven't seen nothing on them except like Amish boys.
Yeah. But come time of cruising.
And I know from last year of some deer that should be in there, and I know that when they start running that, there's a good chance. Yeah, I'll pick them up there.
It's one of my big pet peeves, and I'm not saying that you can't kill them there, because you for sure can, depending especially on what your target is. But like the non-adaptation of like your October hunting to rut hunting is just a killer. In the fact that like if you're sitting on field and hunting corn or standing corn or cut corn or beans or whatever it is that even in food plots in some cases, like I'm not saying you can't kill a deer there during the rut, you absolutely can, but you are not putting yourself in the best position to have a successful all day type of rut hunt.
Well, like right now, so, and we're not talking rut hunting necessarily, but right now through the end of October, I think you can have a lot of success on food sources.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned mowed corn and stuff, especially does, like where you can manipulate movement. That's because, does are coming to them and the bucks know that. And
bed food.
And eventually though, those are going to dry up and it's going to become more terrain travel base.
That's exactly it. And if you don't move, like these are the theories around, and I know Bill even said this the other day, but he and I can agree to disagree. Is like, and Bill's very much an October lull.
Bill who?
Winky.
Okay.
He's an October lull guy. He's like, we're in the October lull right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like if your cameras are in the same spot that they were in September. Yeah, probably. Like you're not seeing them.
I think. I mean, there was something this past 2 weeks, dude. We did not see them moving in daylight. Did you?
No, I'm not saying, but I'm not even talking about daylight. I'm just talking movement in general type of thing. I did see daylight movement. I mean, I had some early mornings and I had some late at dark type stuff happening.
But not like we had early October.
Well, you had that one big front in early October. But I don't think that the movement has changed significantly. That front is the outlier more than the overall movement. You see what I'm saying?
I do. And we had a nice front. And so there's things that may influence our opinion here, but just year to year, I have a lot of activity early October, like on scrapes, on everything. And then I can't recall in years prior, like what this time of year has looked like, but this year for sure has definitely died off for me.
So the more that I hear even that, I think that it has to be oriented towards the type of properties you're hunting.
Dude, look at freaking Epstein Island. Like,
well, I'm not on that camera anymore.
Oh, you're not?
Oh,
I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's dead.
Yeah.
It's like dead.
Yeah.
They were freaking, there was like 4 deer there a night scraping through early October. Yeah. And I've had it out now for a week now, and it's like one or two deer checked it in the past 2 weeks.
I think that could be moisture based out there because they're super dry. Here's what I say about the property difference, or it could be because it falls into this category is my cameras in the big woods are 100% better than they were 3 weeks ago. And I think it's just because of the movement in those woods, the expansion of the home range, the fading of the acorns that we're starting to see. All of that stuff is, I'm not getting like extreme daylight movement necessarily, but I'm seeing a lot of bucks moving. I'm seeing a lot of scrape activity. They're there. They're in that vicinity, right? In most of those scrapes, I'm just monitoring like what buck's there, and then I'll figure out how to go hunt them. So I could catch them in daylight. I'm just not. Versus,
I'm not saying we haven't had any. Like I've seen some bucks on scrapes in daylight. I've seen,
But versus the farm side of things, like there is some changes because of the crops. But besides that, from a landscape level, like there's not a whole lot of need. Like these deer aren't going to expand their home ranges. Like a deer in those big woods might be covering 1,000 acres. A deer where you're at might be covering 250.
Yeah, small.
They don't have to. They don't have to cover 1,000 acres. So I think that, even in Bill's, which is kind of a modified, like you've got a lot of farm ground, but you got some bigger timber and stuff. Like I just think those deer don't have to move as much.
The thing is, they never move. There just are no deer on Bill's farm, is what it seems like.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. So it's just
called a farm lull.
Yeah. So, but if I look at our Illinois farm, it's like, okay, not nearly as good as it was like right at that early part of October.
But also, that's what they do. Like on that Illinois farm, for whatever reason. Maybe we had more in October than I even expected, early October.
I think we did.
Because in the past, it's like nothing. And then October 25th, it's like boom, boom, boom. There's 3 of them that just showed up.
Yeah, who are these guys? like, okay, we're
which is fun. It's exciting. It's just know the farm and hunt thy farm.
Yeah, know what you have. Way. Yeah, don't get excited for like, hey, opening day we may have. No, it's it's probably not going to happen.
I am anxious to see if that 11 point shows up. He'll be a toad.
Yeah.
And you know,
I do think there's a good chance that the sheds Bill had were from a prior year of him.
They could be. We didn't know that the year prior, right?
Mm-mm. Everything else, a browse I'll give you. Like the browse
but the browse are a big deal for me.
I know, but the rest of the configuration is exactly
He's an 11 point for sure.
But I mean, even like the way that his 3s are bigger than his 2s and stuff, like it's all...
I'd like to see him. Maybe we could see him in person and, you know, because he's just laying on a seat like that. It's hard to tell.
Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, so there's that, knowing those farms and how the farms change and how they fire up differently. Like, even though I probably won't be there, I can guarantee on right around the opening day of rifle, there will be a shooter buck that shows up in daylight on my Kentucky farm, and he'll run that farm for 48 hours, and then I'll never see him again. And I don't know why, but that's just every year since I've had permission to monitor that farm, that's what happens. And it's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's gun pressure around that does it. Maybe it's, you know, we're at that kind of, we're through the first week or two of breeding. So maybe he's having to start stretching his legs to look for more does because we're in a very low deer density area. But for whatever reason, like I can anticipate that with that farm and know that that's going to happen. Same as here in Pennsylvania. Like every morning I'm expecting to see a 5 or 6 year old buck on my camera. Mm-hmm. And it's just because I know between the 15th and the 22nd, like it's going to happen. And then I also know between the 27th and 28th or 29th, one of the first does on that farm will go in estrus here on the mountain, you know, and it's like, oh, I should sit there. If he's there, I can see him if I sit there.
I will say I've really enjoyed over the past couple of years, like there seems to be less pressure on the rut for me now than because we have really high quality food sources, both in Ohio and in Illinois. I think we've seen, you know, we've like continued to hold mature bucks and have daylight activity all the way through the month of like December. Mm-hmm. And that makes me feel good because it's like, dude, the rut's kind of stressful. You know, it's like, you want to get in, but if it doesn't happen, you know, it's like, because they're kind of everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
It's extremely stressful, dude.
There's some peace of mind knowing that, hey, when it settles down again, they're going to start coming back to these food sources, and I have them, and nobody else does.
Well, see, there's your know your farm, because like for me, my Kentucky farm is the only property I have besides maybe Illinois that I feel that way about. Like after gun season, that farm I can still get on a buck and kill one there because I have all the food. Every one of my other farms is very natural food based. Like my food plots are hammered. Post gun season, they're biological deserts, right? Like I'm trying to improve them, but like especially here in Pennsylvania, like once we get past gun season, like those deer are gone, right? They're out of here. So you just have to understand, and this is the cool thing about whether it's, not everybody's going to own multiple farms, but if you lease farms or you're hunting different public lands or whatever, it's like find places that you can hunt and feel successful in early October. Those same places likely are not going to also be good at the end of October and also be good during the rut and also be good during gun season and also be good during the late season. So even if you're hunting public land, like have places that you're like, okay, this is my October pre-rut spot. This is then my late October to early November spot. This is then like heart of rut spot. This is then late season spot, because you've got to anticipate that even if it's different deer that you're hunting, different herds that you're hunting, the property itself has to be conducive for that type of hunting. If you go onto a single property, even if it's a big public land and you're like, I'm just going to hunt this thing from October to January because there's a good buck in here. Man, I don't know very many properties that are good for October to January, just straight through. Somewhere along the lines there, you're hunting a ghost or you're just burning time in a season that you don't have much time to burn. They just aren't productive like
you
that.
Don't think? I mean,
I'm not saying
depends on the size of the farm, I guess.
Well, but I'm not saying he can't be there. I'm just saying that the odds of him doing what you need to do to kill him are not favorable. So, for instance, he could be there in early October, but maybe it's because he's bedded there, and then, he gets
Acorns.
up. Yeah, he gets up and he eats acorns, and he goes and feeds on private somewhere else or something. You could possibly kill him in some cases, especially with the right weather front, but it might not nearly be conducive to that. Now, those crops come down in mid-October, and now you have the only browse and food on the property, and you've got scrapes and stuff. You've got a much better chance of probably killing him on that property in late October and early November. So it's just understanding, because the season ends up being so short, that the more time that you stay on a particular farm without understanding how its DNA works and what it's really good for from a hunting side, the more time that you probably burn. And that's hard for some people to hear, because they're like, well, the more time I spend on it, the more time I learn about it. Yes. But again, I just don't know many properties that are conducive to all season success.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Well, there's going to be, every farm is just going to have strengths and weaknesses, is like what it comes down to.
Yeah, it has to. That's the whole point.
Ideally, I mean, if you're managing a farm and trying to like improve it, you would try to like strengthen, the weakness,
which I think could happen. Like,
you would try to bring it up across the board.
Look at your farm. I think historically your farm for the first week or two of the season was the best.
Yeah.
And then it fell off a cliff.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you looked at that and said, we've got to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to change that thought. Like, something has to change here, because we can't just have the first 2 weeks of bow season and then the entire rest of the season we're just flailing around.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
And that was essentially timber management.
Exactly. Browse
and density of cover. We just didn't have well-managed timber. It was old pasture and stuff. And we didn't have the food to carry us through either. I think we had like a few clover plots and like a few brassica plots. And they
annihilated
in
them.
Hindsight, they probably were. There probably were years where, it was gone by the end of November. And it was just like, I don't know where the deer went.
Yeah, so
I can remember years in December where it's like I couldn't find a deer over 2 years old.
Yeah, and so you added
on 1,000 acres.
10-acre destination field. This year you bought back some beans from the farmer.
That was a big deal. A big standing grain source year-round, I think, is absolutely critical.
Yeah, so I mean, that's, if you have the ability, whether it's owned or leased, you can continue to work on those weaknesses, and it will improve. It just takes time. Like, just going in and adding some food is not going to get it done.
Timber management is number one.
I think that's a huge piece.
By far and away number one.
That's probably the most right now, even though like I don't have like a deer that gets me extremely excited besides that 6-year-old being there. Like, I'm most happy with the condition of my Ohio farm because this is now the second year hunting after timber work. And I just know how much food's in those woods. From a browse standpoint, from a cover standpoint, like the only better thing to happen would be no drought this summer, so my food plots look better.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have, only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yep. I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator. Well, dude, so let's dig into your Ohio farm again.
Okay.
How big is that place?
230.
That's a big farm, dude.
Yeah, so it started at 100. So I bought it.
And how many cameras do you have that work on it right
now? 1, 2, 3.
Not enough.
1, 2, 3. 4, maybe 5, and 4 of them are like fairly close together, like on the farthest part of the property.
Yeah. There's no way you're covering that successfully. There's got to be deer on it right now.
No, I've got, I don't know, 5 or 6 SD cameras that are running. But the other thing is, like, I haven't shifted anything to scrapes.
What's it on?
They're all on food plots, basically, and trails. I have one on a scrape. That's where I caught that 6-year-old coming in.
That's funny. I don't have a single camera on a trail.
Yeah,
I just don't do that.
Yeah, most of them are on food plots. So I've got one on like some of these big oaks that they took out are like hollowed out. So I've just dumped corn in them. So I've got one of them on that. Well, there haven't been corn in it for 2 weeks. There was an old mineral lick there too, so they still hit it every once in a while. And I've got one on a food plot. I've got another one on a different food plot. I've got one on a scrape. I think that's it.
Have you walked the farm recently?
The last time I was on the farm was before the season, September 15th or 16th.
You weren't walking it. You just did some work, right?
Yep. I mowed those fields, overseeded.
Did you walk it this last shed season?
No. Kevin and Finn did.
Have you walked it in a shed season?
Not really.
Are there parts of the farm that you've never been on?
No, I've walked through most of it at some point. You know, whether it's shed season or turkey season or early season or something. I've walked through most of it. There's definitely some spots that I like, I treat it kind of as like sanctuary-esque. I remember, I've got pictures of it, like the first year I owned that. So I owned that in 21, I think is when I bought that farm. 2021. January of 21. So I didn't hunt it until fall. I think that first year, I remember going up a couple of these, big hilltops to these flats, because there was a tornado that kind of like took off the top of the property. The first few years, it was only 130 acres. And dude, I found some just giant pine trees, just like mega rubs on them. And I'm like, holy cow, like what the hell? And I had 5-year-olds on camera, the first year I owned it. And didn't even put any, I think I put a little bit of food in the bottom, but that was like it. And the timber was wide ass open, like it was not good farm. And so didn't really do much in 21 or 22. Carter killed a 7-point that first fall on opening day of gun season. And then in 22, we didn't kill anything in 22. I'm trying to think. I remember hunting. I had 2 bucks that I was hunting in 22, and just, I don't know if I just didn't get down there enough or what. I didn't hunt a ton down there. And then in the summer of 22 into 23 is when we did our timber cuts. So that 23 season,
shot.
Yeah, and we had, so like the 6-year-old buck, I had him on camera. I had some good bucks on camera, but like, yeah, it was the entire deer season they were in there cutting. So it was just really hard to hunt them. And like we hunted a few times. Like I probably only hunted 3 or 4 times on that farm all year, just because it was like I wasn't seeing anything on camera and there was so much disturbance happening. But that was the year that I ended up adding the neighbors piece and then the 2 of the neighbors pieces to get me to 230. So like last year was the first year so they left in March of 24 is when the timber cutting stopped. And so last year was the first year of like post timber cuts, 230 acres. And we had that massive drought, like monster drought. But I had that 5-year-old that was one of my targets. I had a 5 and a 6-year-old that I was hunting. And I killed that 5-year-old first sit. So, and we didn't really hunt. We came down for opening day gun season. There was some 3-year-olds running around. There was a couple decent 4-year-olds. Some of those bucks disappeared on us.
This year you're talking about?
24.
Last year.
Yep. And, but yeah, and then I spent some time down there in the winter and then in the early summer just trying to get I spent actually in the spring, because I spent a lot of time trying to get those clover plots going up on the hillsides. And I did walk a little bit, but I didn't spend a ton of time looking for sign in those farm areas and stuff. But it's getting thick now too. Like, I mean, a lot of the terrain and stuff is just jungle thick at this point from the timber cut. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, and
you have access now. So did you? Yep. Any of those logging roads you used for access?
Yep. So primarily, it used to be I had one access from the east, but it was like up the gut of the property. Yep. You know, and it made it. And I have a small access behind the cabin, which would come in from the east as well. And I used those two access points. So now I still have those access points, but then I have a third main access point that comes in and actually is the entire east and north line of the property. So like right on the property line, essentially if any west wind, it's blowing it into public. Mm-hmm. And then I have a fourth access point through a gate that takes me up from the east, but takes me up on the south and west side of the property. Mm-hmm. And essentially they would connect to a big food plot in the backfield if I took both of them to the endpoints. But it allows me to get to use pretty the borders. Yeah. Yep. Use the borders, play the wind really well. And the majority of the center of my property is like the hub of all the deer. So using that as they are coming in from off property too, but.
And you have a grain field in there?
Well, they ate my grain field this year.
How big is it?
The bottom is about 2.5 acres. Mm-hmm. And then I've got a half acre, a 2 acre, a full acre, and a half acre on the top. So those are all in clover right now, and rye. And then that bottom field is in brassicas, clover, and rye because they ate the beans. Mm-hmm. So
and that field's not getting any bigger. It's as big as it can get.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I've looked at it a couple times. I mean, it's a hollow essentially. So it is the bottom field.
And do you hunt that bottom field?
So I've got a box blind I've got a real clean access coming right in from the old farmhouse into a box blind for gun season and stuff. I mean, you could bow hunt it too. In fact, I killed that doe out of it in January last year. Mm-hmm. But I try and then I've got one access point right where that blind sits. So that blind sits as kind of, it opens up to the 2 acre field. And then there's a creek bed that winds up, and I can walk that creek bed and I get into that stand I killed my buck in. And that would take me to the head of the field, essentially when they come out of the timber to come into that big field. I can slip up into there pretty easily. I give up a little bit of hillside where they can come through, but ultimately it's the most aggressive play in that bottom for sure. Mm-hmm. And if the wind's right, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Especially what we were talking about with thermals pulling down that creek, it pulls them right back the way I came. So, yeah. So, I mean, that property is just for the early stuff that you were talking about. I definitely am not covering it enough between the dead cameras, or I am covering it with the SDs and I just don't know what's on them yet. I haven't checked them in a month and a half. Yep. That farm definitely. So the year that they did the timber stuff, it wasn't as good, but the other years that farm's always good for a lot of new bucks showing up in the rut because it's big timber country around there. So those deer are just walking ridges and stuff, and I control 230 acres. There's a lot there. I would say most of those deer don't stick around. It's they come through. I see them, for 2-3 days and then never see them again. Mm-hmm. And then the homebodies are the homebodies who are there. That 6.5-year-old's a homebody. I've got 3 really big 4-year-olds that are homebodies. A bunch of 3-year-olds and stuff in there too. The 2 5-year-olds, one of those 5-year-olds was a homebody. The other one, I didn't know who he was. And I think we talked last time, they chipped to the ground about 400 plus acres around me. So that changed that entire area a lot too. And will continue to change that area. Just with, that becoming just a thick jungle of bedding area basically. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a constantly changing property. I feel pretty good on the access. I feel pretty good on I have some set tree stand spots already. There's a couple I need to just kind of move and tuck back in now that leaves are coming off. But like I have good spots. But like for me, it's a mobile hunt thing. Like I'm just where is he, and then I can get in there and access and hunt him. But yeah, I don't have a good read right now on like what a deer that I'm targeting is doing on that property. That 6-year-old's I've only got him on camera twice. Again, could be on the SD cards, but from a cell camera standpoint, twice in the last week, and he's showing up on the furthest end of the property, though I know he usually hangs closer to the cabin side of the property too. So I'm sure I've got a bunch of pictures of him on the SD card, would be my guess.
Okay. I guess that's the question is, are you got an idea where he's at, or is there a play for him?
No, I know where he hangs. He hangs on the south and western side of the property. That's where he beds, and then he works his way into the property from there. I know 3 or 4 key scrapes that he's usually on. In fact, the one I got him on, I think it's like October 24th or 25th last year, I got him daylight multiple times, just ripping that thing up. So that's his core spot. Kevin.
That's where you're going to be next week?
Yep. Kevin hunted him. Kevin hunted that farm last year around that time frame. I want to say it was the end of October. Maybe it was the first part of November. And I think he bumped him off of it. It's like I call it the saddle of saddles. It's like the perfect saddle in between 2 big ditches. There's a 2-acre food plot up on the top. It's all white oaks through there. And like those deer during the rut, just like just all over that. And that scrape sits right on the saddle.
Yeah.
And he was walking like the old logging trail there, and I think he was locked down with a doe in this little patch of like small, like short pines and stuff right off of the trail there. But so that deer's pretty known. I got one picture, I guess it was when I was elk hunting, so the end of September. I got one picture of a deer that like sure doesn't look mature, but damn, the deer's probably in the 60s easily. And I don't know him. So that would be one that I'm like, if I could get other pictures to see what better idea of age, and like if he's not a homebody, like he would probably be, if he's a 4-year-old, I'd probably kill him. If he starts showing up more on camera, then we'll see on the pass. But the cool thing about that property is like it's finally to the point, besides, like I said, besides the food plots and water holes are the other things I want to work on with it, but it has a proven track record that the deer can survive. Even with all that public around me and stuff, like I'm sure they kill some deer, we've talked about poaching before, like that's an issue down there. Like all of those. So I've got a 4-year-old 8-point that's probably high 40s. I've got a 4-year-old 10-point that's probably high 40s, low 50s. And I've got a 4-year-old 10-point that's probably mid to high 50s. All of those deer I've known since 2 years old. And like they make it through every year. That 6-year-old, I've known him. He was one of the first deer I got a picture of in the summer of the first season. So that was 2021. So like these deer have a proven history of surviving. Not all of them, because like a lot of them definitely either disappear, move, die, whatever happens. But I have at least enough proven territory there that I'm like, okay, I can keep these deer. I can at least try to get them to 5. There's no reason for me to shoot them at 4 right now. There's enough history that they could get through another year to 5. So that's the strategy there. Like obviously if my dad or the kids see them, like I'm not calling them off of them, but from my side, it's like I'm trying to get them to 5. And it's only 3 hours. So that's the other thing is like as I get these cameras set back up, opportunistically, if a new buck shows up for a rut or whatever, like I'll go and I'll be able to get on him, because it's a very huntable property, just the way that it sets up from now having all of those logging roads in there and just kind of knowing what the deer do. The one thing that I'm lacking right now that hopefully this upcoming week I'll fix is I know where historically some of the scrapes are, but if I can find a big new scrape, like I need a camera on those. And I needed it on there a week and a half ago, and I just haven't got down there. So, yeah, but I feel pretty good about it. I really lucked out with the timber quality on that thing. Like even from the cut that Madison and those guys did, like that gives me a ton of browse. Like the amount of white oaks and red oaks dropping acorns still is like insane. Like it like you could definitely tell the property's been cut, but like there's a lot of really good quality oak on that thing still, which is cool to have from, not only a future harvest side, but also just from an acorn production end.
Yeah.
And obviously the amount of browse that we have now, like the biggest thing that's hurt is the last 2 summers have just been epic droughts. Like, and that, I think if my top food plots like that, I have that 1 2-acre food plot in the back, like that would be one where I'm like, man, if I could have established that in a 2-acre big brassica field, been insane. But it just,
yeah, I mean, if it can sustain it. I mean, 2 acres sounds big, but like totally surrounded by timber.
Yeah.
On a drought year, like it's probably not.
Oh, it's not gonna. No, it won't make it. You have to have it in a favorable condition here, which is why I hope my browse and Forbes and stuff.
Are you gonna
like
put
that,
a feeder in that?
Yeah. So I mean, so that is the thing right now. Like, Kevin and I were talking about it. I have, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got 5 areas that I have small feeders or hollowed out stumps that I've, put a couple 100 pounds of corn in. Well, shit, that doesn't last
a couple days.
Yeah. Now it lasts longer there. I don't, for whatever reason, whether it's the acorns or the browse, like that'll last a week and a half. But they're not strategic at all. Like they're just there they've been there primarily just from a camera standpoint of like, let's get a picture of a buck hitting this thing. They're not there from a hunting strategy standpoint at all. And they're for sure not there from a feeding strategy because like all of my neighbors are out feeding me.
Right.
So I got to figure out something there. Like I'd either rather cold turkey it and just not feed them at all, or we've got those big feeders that we got from Texas Wildlife. I plan on bringing one of those into that bottom to an area that I don't hunt, I can't access, but is a key spot for the deer, and putting it there and just loading that thing up and having it in the bottom. And that hopefully keeps deer pouring into that bottom. And then whether I put the other one there or I put it in Kentucky, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, it's I'm relying a lot on the browse on that property from a holding capacity, especially as we get into this last part of October, November timeframe.
Yeah.
As those acorns start to dry up a little bit and the food plots are, there's some green source there for sure. In fact, they're looking better now. This rain will help this weekend, but yeah, it's I'm anxious to see what happens because here's the thing. We talked about the DNA of a farm earlier. If you would have told me prior to this year, what is the DNA of that Ohio farm, I would have said surprisingly early season. Because when I first bought that farm, I had two 5-year-old plus deer all summer there, and they became homebodies too, but they were very, I could have easily killed them in the opening part of the season, and I just didn't get down there. The year that they cut, throw that one out the window. Last year, I had 18 bucks over 3.5 years old in August on that property.
Wow.
It was crazy. In hindsight, it's because they were chipping all of the property around me. So all of those woods were literally being worked on and chipped, and mine was kind of like the closest escape. So all of those bucks pulled in there. So this year I was anticipating the same thing. I'm like, okay, all these bucks are going to be here first week of season. Like I gotta capitalize again. They never showed, right? I still had my homebody 4-year-olds and stuff like that. But like the bucks that I expected, including that 6-year-old, just they didn't show. And I think that's because they felt comfortable flocking back out to those outer properties, even though it was 4-foot tall annuals and stuff. Like they're fine there. They can move to some areas. There's oaks remnant in places where acorns are dropping. As we get closer to the end of October into November and the frosts really start to knock that annual stuff down, I think I'm going to start to see that suck in. So this year, knock on wood, I'm anticipating this end of October into first part of November, some of those bucks that I was excited about last year potentially showing back up. Like I said, that 6-year-old finally showed up a week ago. that one a couple weeks ago, that mainframe 11, like I don't know who he is, but I've never seen him before. And who knows what's on some of those cameras on the front of the property that are on SDs. So yeah, it's just like we talk, like either you're changing the property or the properties around you are changing. And so you just have to kind of go with that flow of things. But it's a good farm. I'm extremely lucky because a lot of that area got smoked with EHD. And like I said, very possible 2 of the 5-year-olds that I was banking on being like my 1 and 2 shooters died from EHD. I don't know. Maybe they moved off.
I doubt it.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, like I said, the last time I was there, which was in mid-September or whatever, I smelled something dead. There was definitely a dead deer likely somewhere there. I just couldn't find it. But from an overall standpoint, like if you look at my herd and like, in fact, one of the guy I bought the neighbor from, he still comes down and gun hunts some of the public there. He's like, hey man, should I cancel my reservation for gun season? Like how bad is it? And I was like, man, I think I have a huntable herd here. Like I may have lost some of these shooters, but like there's still some 4-year-olds and stuff. So I assume the surrounding area is similar. Knock on wood. I don't know, but I don't think we felt the brunt of that EHD like some of the other areas of Meigs County, Athens, and Washington did, because those harvest numbers are bleak right now.
It sounds to me like you need to lock in your water holes.
Yep, that's a big one. And I messed up. I should have did it this year, and I drug my feet. And I've got a really good guy down there to do it too. Yeah. He's been awesome.
Water holes and your scrapes.
Yep,
is what it sounds like.
And scrapes is simply like, in theory, I would have been down there this week, but my ankle's fucked. So like, I'm trying not to mess it up for the rest of the season. But yeah, I'm a week or 2 behind on my scrape side of things. Like I know I have one on that saddle scrape is for sure like on the top 3 of scrapes on that property.
Is your camera working on that right now?
Working on it. That's where I've got the 6-year-old crushing it. Yep. I've got both of 2 of the 3 4-year-olds crushing that thing. Like that's a primo spot, and that thing's just getting fired up.
Yeah.
But the rest of the property severely lacking on the scrape side. Not that they're not there. It's just I'm not monitoring them as well as I should be. I have an SD camera in front of that blind on that big 2-acre field, and there's a giant mock scrape right next to it that I get every buck basically on the farm hits that thing. Yep. And so there's an SD camera on that right now. So that one will be one of the first ones I check, and I'm sure there'll be somebody on there. I'm like, there he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's
so you're gonna hunt down there
next week. Yep. I think I'm gonna go in
this Wednesday.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go down Tuesday night. I'm gonna hunt Wednesday morning, move some cameras, check some cameras, do some things on the farm, work on the cabin a little bit, probably hunt Wednesday evening, come home.
Where are you gonna hunt in the morning?
I have a little over a half-acre clover plot that is on a ridge between 2 bedding areas, and it's like right up behind my cabin. So basically on any west wind, south to northwest, I can slip straight up the hill behind my cabin, get into that thing, have my thermals falling back, and then even when they start to rise, it's a golden spot.
Cool.
And that's a big highway for a lot of those deer when they start to get on their feet, because there's a point where they scrape on one side, those 2 bedding areas, and then they move up to, there's a bigger clover plot up on the top. And they just kind of loop that. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Rack Hub.
Well, dude, sheds are starting to hit the ground.
Yeah, and although we usually don't find many of them, we've done pretty well this season so far.
I would say for just, a handful of walks, we've got a pile of sheds to show for it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, if shed season would end today, I think it was pretty successful.
So this year we're partnering with Rack Hub. It's an antler mounting system for your sheds.
Yeah, and obviously people have watched our podcast. We've got this massive pile of sheds that are on the table at all times, but you guys took the time to set up Wide Boy Shed on the R1, which is a really cool way to now have that thing right off to my left-hand side during the podcast.
So some of these sheds just call for a little bit more appreciation, I guess. So rather than being on a pile on the table, we're going to mount them on the wall, and they look awesome. So
yeah. And so if anybody wants to try Rack Hub, you can use the code HUNTR10, HUNTR10 at rackhub.com to get 10% off your order.
Use Rack Hub to make the most of your shed season. And I think this week's going to be really good.
I do too, man.
I just think that after that rain, even if it is like lower pressure, I think that they're starting to sniff them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've thought about killing, not that I necessarily need the meat, but we'll see what what I'm seeing. I thought about even just popping a doe or two just to get a couple more off the property. Cause that's the other thing. Like, there's a lot of people are like, well, you're not going to kill any does on that farm this year because of EHD, right? And I'm like, man, if you see my food plots right now, like besides the one in the bottom, I can't see the other ones. I'm like, they're hurting.
I don't know if your food plots are reliable.
It's because of the drought, you think?
Because mine look like, they look okay now, but they look really rough too.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about shooting does. Like I'm almost at a point where I'm like, I don't know. Like we have plenty.
Sure.
But I don't know, man. Nobody seems to have like the answer to that. That's what Skalma called me yesterday. He's like, I just got halfway through listening to your HUNTR podcast, and he doesn't shoot any does. He's like, we've shot 14 of 30 that I'm planning to shoot this year. He's like, I'm wondering if I'm screwing it up. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't, like, if you need to kill some does, like, or you want to kill some does, like, you're not going to screw it up. It's not going to mess it up. Do you have to? The biggest factor, I think, is what's happening around you. Like if you've got neighbors that are brown it's down and popping them, or you have massive EHD around you, then no, you probably don't need to kill does. But yeah, I think I'm definitely would say that I'm not an insane proponent of shooting does on any of my farms really, because I don't think I've ever sat a field where I'm like, besides like the one back home, like I will shoot does here this year because I just had 12 of them in a field with their fawns. So like I will kill two or three does there. But besides that, like I don't think I've ever sat on a field where I've got more than 5 or 6 deer in a field in front of me on any of my properties. Yeah. And so until that changes, right, until that's different, then like there's no reason. Now, if the kids want to shoot one or something, yeah, man, knock yourself out.
This late season is going to be really interesting because we had the farmer leave those beans where they're very visible. I could easily walk up the hill from the Roberts house and take a census of like, and granted that's late season, so they,
they congregate.
It pulls in, but still you'll get a landscape idea of like, I mean, if there's like 50 deer in that field to like 100, like that's a lot.
I will say that I am, and this is like, again, you're not doing it wrong necessarily. I do not like shooting does from about the 20th of October through right before Thanksgiving. I'm not the guy that's saying, well, there could be a buck behind the doe, but I am the guy saying that doe probably hasn't been in estrus, especially for the first couple weeks of that yet. And I'm taking her off the table, and, that might affect how deer behave on this property, as well as a pressure thing. Like, we all want to make an ethical shot, but like that doe still goes crashing through your best bedding area 150 yards, and then you got to go in and get her. Like that's not, it's not good. I'm not saying that you're going to ruin your property, but it sure ain't going to help your property. So
I agree.
You just have to be careful.
It
There's
comes
times
and goes
for
always. It's like, yeah, I mean, and ideally it's early. I think you just like right out of the gate, you just whack what you want to whack.
Well, I know a lot of people hate shooting them late. I love shooting them late. And, people will say, well, they're already bred and da-da. I don't give a shit about that. I'm a biologist. In fact,
the problem with
really
shooting them late is like
that.
You've given them a whole season of like using your farm. I agree. So they're taking resources off, and they're also, if there's effort being put out by bucks to breed them kind of a thing.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's why.
Makes a ton of sense on that side. I look at it as I'm just trying to take their mouth off the ground before the hardest part of the year, which is February, March for most of these deer.
Sure. And that's frankly when we end up shooting most of them is later on.
Yep. Yeah, and you got to watch for shed bucks on that stuff. But like, dude, that doe I killed on that property, I think I shot her January 24th or 25th last year. That thing was a monster, like the biggest doe I've ever shot. Looked like a freaking 4-year-old buck. In fact, when I walked up on her, I'm like, uh-oh. And then I looked, I'm like, whew.
Yeah, close call.
It was a freaking slob. So yeah, I mean
we definitely could afford to shoot a few. I mean, if Corey wants to shoot one this coming week and stuff, like I'm all for it. We'll go somewhere where we can do that.
Yeah, it's not. But I mentioned that just because a lot of people ask us that about the doe thing, and like, dude, if you want to kill does, especially if you want meat, like let it fly, dude. Kill them. There is no right or wrong answer. I don't think anyone can give you a guaranteed right or wrong. And we give you recommendations, and tell you when you should or how many you should. And I do that for a lot of people, but ultimately there's no perfect prescription. The fact is if you kill too many of them, they'll bounce back fast. Like that's just how it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't kill enough of them, you can always make it up the next year. Like it's no life or death situation on either side of it.
Agreed.
So, but yeah, man, I think that's the big thing. So yeah, I'm excited about Ohio. We'll probably plan a rut hunt before gun season. I'll try to get my dad down there for a couple days and with the kids. And then we always go down for the opening day of gun season. So we'll go down on Sunday or whatever and hang out and do a little deer camp. And then Monday do the opening day of gun season down there.
Yeah, it's about to get hard to describe the attitude right now, the mode. It's just like getting ready to buckle down here. It's like kind of
it's gonna get wild.
Time to go to work.
It's the next 6 weeks is what we as bow
praying
hunters,
for good weather too.
Yeah, it looks fine. I mean, there's gonna be some wet spills in there, and perfect conditions. No, I don't mind hunting 50 and rain. That doesn't bother me. I feel pretty deadly in it. I've seen a lot of big bucks. I've killed some good bucks in rain like that.
Maybe you can rub some of that off on me. I don't love it.
Yeah, you just gotta be confident of your shot and stuff, and it is harder to track them after the fact. But I don't. That doesn't bother me one bit, especially as we get to that latter part of October. In fact, that's what makes me feel ready weather.
You don't think they hold up in rain at all? You think they move the same?
I do think that they probably have a little bit different hold up behavior depending on how hard the rain is and things like that.
Sure.
But from a steady rain or light drizzle, in 50s and not a lot of wind movement. I think it depends on where you're at. Like we talk about it in Kansas, without wind, I don't think those deer move very much. They're just not used to it.
I think it's everywhere.
I think here,
you need some.
I think the more wind you have here, the less movement you have. We get one of these days coming up where it's 40 plus mile an hour winds. Those deer aren't moving. They're
See,
locked
I've
down.
had some really good hunts in high winds. You just got to be in the bottoms. I think they want to get out of the wind.
Yeah.
So I think it tells you where to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that when you get into those high wind situations, it's hard for them to process the scent, and everything's moving and everything's loud. It's a sensory overload.
Those good hunts that I've had have been in the rut.
Yep.
So to be clear.
And versus in Kansas.
So if it's November 5th through the 15th,
yeah,
and it's high wind, just go to a bottom.
Yeah.
Don't not hunt because it's windy.
Yeah. Versus in Kansas where you're in a lot more open ground, they can see further. It's not as sensory overload.
Yeah, it's just windy. They don't care.
Yeah, if they're in the woods. When you're in the woods in 40 mile an hour winds, it is a sensory over. Everything's moving. Everything's loud. Your head's on a swivel. They don't like that, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
At all.
Kansas deer are funny. I was just thinking that.
Yeah, they're just different beasts. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind the rain side of things. Again, more of experience than anything. I just have seen some really big bucks creeping through, nose to the ground.
Will you change your, does the rain impact your strategy at all? Obviously it does in October, but
I'll get way more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I will get right up in on where I need to be.
Because it's quieter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slide right up in where I need to be. I also will, I'll probably be in an area that is a little bit tighter, from a shot selection standpoint, because it's just thicker as I'm getting closer to where I think that they're coming from or where they're bedding at. And I don't sit down in the rain.
Okay.
Mainly because it's one of those ones where you
won't hear them coming.
You won't hear them coming. Mm. And so it just, yeah.
What about from a stand location standpoint? Are you because it's raining, I'm going to go to a scrape, or I'm going to go to a food source?
At the end of October, I really like being near scrapes, especially if it's raining, because I just feel like they're constantly refreshing them.
Mm-hmm.
If it's one of those rains where it's it's all day, but it's intermittent, man, you could catch them at any point.
Sure.
Coming in to freshen that thing up. In the evenings, if I'm just hunting an evening and it's raining, I love a food source because I think that those deer get up early, and I think you have a better chance of catching them. Plus,
between rains too, like on a food source.
Plus, it gets dark so fast in the woods on a cloudy day.
Yeah,
you need that open kind of view because otherwise you're going to lose like 15 minutes of shooting light pretty quickly.
Isn't it funny how it seems like those midday rains, like is like when it stops, they'll just get up and run to food.
Yep,
and then the bucks, later in October we get here, they're gonna do that too.
Well, and think about it too, like the pure moisture on a lot of those like green food sources and stuff.
There's something about that.
Well, I mean, they're getting 60+% of their moisture and water intake anyways from the food. Like the fact that they have that moisture on there too, I think it's just they're killing two birds for one stone. These deer, and the does especially, the bucks aren't because they're about to just let it loose, right? The does are already thinking about building fat reserves and energy conservation, especially as they get into the breeding side of things because they know that's going to take a toll on their body. And so they're just looking to stack calories and not burn unnecessary energy. The bucks are going to just do what the bucks do here in the next few weeks. So I think when you look at that, if the doe can say, well, if I can go out here and I can eat and pack this all on, it's easier for me to see because it's still daylight out, but I don't feel as super threatened and everything's moist, so I can smell better at this point, and I can get some extra water intake because the leaves and everything have moisture on them. Like, I think they're just we give the deer too much credit in some cases and not enough at the other. Their ability to be like a selective eater, to pick the most nutritious value from a food standpoint is off the charts. It's uncomparable to any other freaking animal out there. And so as they're doing that, as they're picking through, like those scent receptors are just processing like, yep, you're just packing on calories. You're packing on calories. You're packing on calories. And so, and then I think even because you think about those cold fall rains, like even with the hollow hair and stuff like that, like, they still have to keep body heat. They're burning calories doing that. And I think that they'd rather do that when it's not raining. And then when it rains, just kind of hunker down and just kind of be a shell wherever they can be. But I do look at some things a little different. Like if it's a harder than average rain, here in the mountains and stuff, I look at a lot of things like hemlocks and stuff because I do think that they lay under those like an umbrella a bit. You don't have that in all cases. In some of the like strip mine areas, it's autumn olives. There's a lot of leaves still on the autumn olives, and so that kind of acts as like a rain shelter barrier for them. Or big beech type, trees. Anything that's still holding leaf cover gives them a bit of a rain shelter type feel on that stuff. So that's just normal. If it's like becomes a pounding all day rain. If it's just like a line coming through, they're going to just hunker down anyways.
Yeah. I'm always kind of if it's raining, I'm pretty seriously considering staying in.
Well, so here's
or going to a blind. I'm waiting for it to break because I know that when it breaks, they're going to move.
Yeah. But. So here's what I was saying, and maybe we'll wrap up with this, but so that buck for sure behind you. I didn't actually know that I knew that deer existed, but I had no pictures of him that year personally. I went in, there was a big front coming through on October 24th, I think is when I killed him. Big front coming through. It had been fairly warm. And the front was going to come through maybe an hour and a half before dark. But we're talking like what we're about to get on Sunday, like a nasty rain. Nasty. So there was a very good scrape that I had a camera on, and I had a 135 to 140 inch 10 point that I was hunting, and he had been hitting that consistently. It was an SD card. So I pulled that card on the way in, and I eased my way up closer to his bedding area. We had a little bit of rain, but not much yet. Like it was the big front was still coming. Eased in. I ended up bumping a buck at one point, and then basically was like, that's as far as I can go. I can't go any closer. Found the tree, hung the stand. When I get in there, I check the cards, and he's on there the night before at like 2 a.m. or whatever. I'm like, holy shit. And the 10 point was on there too. So essentially, I would say like 4 o'clock or so, right? It was getting dark at whatever, 6:30, 7 o'clock. 4:30, front starts to come through. Now, I prepared because I was like, I knew that basically what I did was I'm going to get in here and I'm going to sit through the front and the rain in anticipation that I'm going to catch a half hour of good weather on the back half of this thing. Like, there's no way to get in after the rain, right? Mm-hmm. So I get in and get set up. This front hits, and I'm talking wicked. Like 30-mile-an-hour winds, torrential downpours. That front takes maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, bows up. I'm just like hunkered in there. And the temperature just plummets behind it. And I remember like clearly looking to the west, and like 45 minutes or so before dark, I remember seeing like the sun right before it sunset. So like you could see the clear line coming, right? Between that time and when I shot that buck, I saw 9 bucks come from the bedding area towards that scrape. And I was probably 120 yards off of the scrape up the hill towards the bedding. The first, 2 or 3 that I saw were 2-year-old type bucks, but fed right down through, eating on acorns down into the scrape that then led out to a clover field. It was like 10 minutes before last shooting light that I looked up on the hill, and here came 3 deer. It was like a heavy 9-point, a small 8-point, and this dude trailing in the back. And they came straight down, walked down, came right past me at like 24 yards. He was the last one in line, and I shot him. There's no doubt in my mind that if either I tried to get in there after the rain or anything like that, it wouldn't happen. I also firmly believe that sitting through that, all of my scent was washed away. Because, it was a hammer of a storm. But if you looked at that type of condition in line, you couldn't have painted anything better. For the last 45 minutes to see, I'm talking clear blue skies coming behind that line, and that temperature just going through the floor. Everything.
Textbook.
In October 23rd, first doe's not in estrus. He's coming down. He's checking that scrape. All of those bucks were together. Like I said, he was bedded with 3 other bucks, clearly. And like they were doing the thing, but it was the pre-rut thing, and it was patternable. And that is why like this week coming up for Pennsylvania is one of my favorite weeks. Probably for a lot of states is my favorite week, because they're going to do the thing, but it's patternable doing the thing. And that is pretty critical if there's a mature buck that you want to kill in an area. I think it's one of the best times to be able to slip in there on a scrape and schwack them pretty quickly.
That's definitely a big tactic, to be able to use rain to get in close to areas, because man, on days where it's dry and it can be so loud, it's impossible to do anything in the woods, especially when there's no wind. And so that's a big tactic, whether it's rain or heavy wind. If there, as long as there's going to be good movement on the back side of it, you can use that to get in where you need to go.
That's it, man.
That's the trick to that spot on the east wind too. It's like you can't just try to they're bedding right in that ditch, or they're right in that food plot.
Yeah, they know you're coming.
You got to have some kind of cover to pull that off. So and you only get a handful of those days. And so when it happens, that's when you hunt those spots.
Well, and that was the first sit I did in Pennsylvania all year. I'd spent time in the woods. I'd scouted. I'd moved cameras. I'd run cameras. Like, that was the first day I sat to hunt. And it was just because everything prior to that didn't make sense. Like, it would be hunting to hunt. And I get that. Like, we all want to be in the woods. That's our time to just vent out and just, be part of what we love to do. But there's unnecessary pressures that happen and come with that, and mistakes that come with that, if you're trying to kill a specific deer or quality of deer, will negatively affect it. So like, even to this point, and it's not just because like I haven't wanted to hunt, but like I haven't hunted in Pennsylvania yet. This week will be the first time, and I will make probably 1 or 2 calculated moves in Pennsylvania and probably 1 or 2 calculated moves in Ohio. Chances are I will see one of the bucks I'm after, because it's going to line up with the weather conditions. It's not just time of year. It's like we're getting...
Well, and you've got a good intel, especially in PA. Like we saw.
I know where he's at. So you've got multiple boxes checked here on this week. That's why I said, anytime guys ask me, hey, do you think I should take the week of the November 5th off or week of November 11th? I'm like, where are you at? Oh, Pennsylvania. I was like, why not like the week of the 22nd or 23rd? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I was like, dude, I really like that week a lot, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel a lot more secure on my movements in the morning too, during that time frame. So yeah, it's still time to be calculated, to not be brash about your decisions. But if you get everything aligned, don't be afraid to be aggressive, because that could be the one move that, you're allowed to make because all of the other factors are in line with it, to get something done this week.
Right on.
So
that's a good one to take into this week.
That's it. Well, hopefully we'll have one of those Friday videos in the near future that Jared or I arrow something, or Corey arrow something, or my dad or the kids or whatever arrow something. And but we appreciate everyone listening to episode 283 of HUNTR Podcast, and we will catch you on the next one.
Later.
Take me